This is one of the things that I see as one of the biggest problems in our industry is complacency, and we get used to working with certain people, and that's why some dealers are still in newspaper, or they're still on radio or TV or something like that. Another one was, I'm not happy, but pretty much what people didn't give a shit. They were kind of in the middle of it, just kind of went. And then the last one, which is really the truth in all of the answers, was I'm too busy, or what that means is I'm just too damn scared to change. Now, that led me to the belief of this: if you had to make this, if you had to make the relationship a Facebook status, it would easily be, it's very complicated. I asked the exact same question, and I put it out to vendors. So as vendors, how is the relationship with your dealers? I got very happy. Once again, cool. That's great. You're happy. I'm happy. Fantastic. Next one is, we want more. But more, you can tell that more came from a certain place. It didn't come from this place. It didn't come from, we need more, and the need more being, we want to make more money, we want to close more people, we want more. And then the last one, and I'm guilty of saying this at times too, our dealers, they just don't get it. They don't get what we do, they don't get what we're about, they don't get how to use our tool. They just don't get it. Once again, the exact same answer came. The relationship is very, very complicated. So, the relationship, I take a lot of times, I take a relationship of dealer and vendor, and it can very, very easily be compared to a relationship of husband and wife. Because you're very much in the same bed together, right? If you succeed, and if you do well, both of you succeed. If you don't do well, both of you wind up failing. The problem is that some people that have maybe been married once or twice, you wind up in this type of state, you wind up in here again. Made a mistake once, hook up with a bad vendor, you wind up doing it again with another bad vendor. Then you start to get sour on vendors. Then you get sour on the whole process. And I've found that a lot of it comes down to goals and what is expected. I love this meme, it's basically, if you really don't know where you want to go, then it doesn't matter which way you go. So if you're a dealer and you're outside, or BDC manager, or whatever, even if you're a vendor and you're outside, and if you don't know what you want to accomplish, you don't know where you want to go, it doesn't matter who you talk to. It doesn't matter what you say to them. It doesn't matter, because you're going to wind up right back where Alice is right now. You're going to wind up right back in that spot again. So, it brought me down to leading and believing that there's really only two types. These two types match. They match with vendors, and they match with dealers. There's Mr. Right Now, and there's Mr. Forever. Let's talk about each one of them. Mr. Forever is very, very simple, because you can see exactly what he's all about. Mr. Forever's playing an infinite game. He is in this business because he loves the business, and because he is playing to the end, but he does not know where the end is. The end is not the sale. The end is not, I got the demo. The end is not, oh, did you sign that guy? Yeah, he signed. Okay, we're done. The end continues on and on and on. The game never ends. He makes all of his decisions based on a set of values that he has. He feels when he's out there, or when he's talking to a dealer, he feels that there is absolutely no competition, that he does not compare to anybody else, that he is by far ahead of everyone. And he always has the best interest of others. Basically meaning that if he's talking to somebody, and if he knows that the relationship isn't going to be right, he's the first one to bow out and say, this just isn't a fit. And like I said, this goes both ends. Because there's also dealers that are Mr. Right Nows. All they're concerned about, dealers and vendors that are Mr. Right Nows, all they're concerned about is just today. What have I got today? What's coming today? All they're concerned about is closing the sale. That is it. What do we got to do to close these guys? You can walk around here, you get over here. I'm friends with a lot of people in this room, but a lot of the stuff that goes on in this room is total shenanigans. And you hear them walk away, and what happened to that guy? Did you get that guy? Why didn't he sign? They feel that everybody is competition. You ever hear a demo from one of these people? They talk more about the other vendors and about who they compete with than they do about themselves and their own qualities. Once again, when it comes to the dealer winds up talking about all of his competitors instead of about his own goals and what he feels he can do. And 100%, they are strictly transactional. Once it's done, and it's over. You get my Mr. Right Now thing, right? We all know people like that. Once and done. So the whole decision of this, of who you work with and everything, obviously, it's all up to you. Both of those types, the Mr. Right Now and the Mr. Forever, both of them serve a purpose, and both of them may fit your goals. But if you don't know what your goals are, and you don't know what it is that you want to do, you wind up like Alice. Right? At that post where everything says this way, that way, this way, that way. So when you walk into the expo room, that's exactly how you feel. You just look around and you're like, oh my God, I don't know where the hell to go. And then you just go out there. So it all boils down basically to one thing, because whether it's dealer, vendor, Mr. Right Now, Mr. Forever, it really doesn't matter. It's all about people, and it's all about what your goals are, and it's all about, is the person that you're working with somebody that you can trust? Is this somebody that you know that if you pick up your cell phone and you call them, like I said, this goes both ways. If it's pick up your cell phone and you call them, are they going to answer? Do they see your number on the phone and go, oh, shit, was that guy calling? Or does he grab the phone right away and be like, yeah, what's up? What can I do to help you? So I think I've set up the context for the talk, so I'm going to introduce our panelists, but before I do, at the end, we're going to have if we have time, we're going to have a Q&A session. So what I urge you to do is grab your cell phones now. I would never tell anybody to grab a cell phone while I'm talking. I can't believe I'm saying this, but grab your cell phone right now. If you have a question, all you got to do is text the number 2233 to DD23. Window will open up, leave it open on your phone, and then as we're talking, if something pops in your head, go ahead and send the question in. I'll be seeing them as we go through. So it's time to bring up our panelists. So let me introduce first the president of the ID Automotive Group, Mr. Jesse Peterson. Okay, and CEO of the Cardinale Automotive Group and of iFrog Digital Marketing, Mr. Doug Wilson. Last but not least, CEO of the Cardinale Automotive Group, Mr. Erich K Gail. So, gentlemen, I want to thank you all so much for being here today and taking your time to come and do this. And as you heard from the context that I set up for this talk. Basically, I feel that the whole basis of the relationship between dealer and vendor is all based on trust. Right? Now, I want to start because I want to make a particular point. I'm going to take somebody on our panel. I'm going to put them right on the spot, right out of the gate here. And Erich, Erich not only operates a very, very large automotive group, but he also operates a very, very large media company as well. Okay? So I put this up on purpose because I want to display the size of what Erich is doing and what he's doing. Now, I want to ask the question. You run a large dealer group, you're extremely successful, extremely profitable. Why the hell would you want to get involved in marketing and advertising?
Same question we asked ourselves back when. Folks, quick backstory. In 2010, we first attended Digital Dealer with the understanding that digital was going to be where we were going to be successful. We did not know, nor did we understand digital retailing. We came here, we continue to come here. The takeaway was that we needed certain pieces and parts. I won't go through the laundry list, but you can imagine what they are. I need a social presence, I need a purchased media presence, I need video, I need reputation, and so on. So at the time, we had 12 stores, and we managed 7 or 8 relationships per store with individualized vendor partners that were doing their jobs. And the more we learned, the more we started to ask questions. If a consumer, a buyer, enters the environment that you provide on our behalf and then moves to another environment that's managed by someone else, am I getting that intermediary data? Well, no, because our systems don't communicate with theirs. That's a problem. That's my problem because I'm the one who's the investor in this relationship, looking for the end net result. So to jump forward to where we are today, the reason why we made the decision to turn inward was because ultimately as the investor, we are responsible for the end net result. And too often we found that, well, in order for you to play in XYZ sandbox, it's fill in the blank rate per month. Has no justification. It's what's called a market rate. That doesn't make sense to us. Okay? You need to use our phone numbers. Your customers are going to land on our portal page. But they're our customers, it's our money, it's our environment, and it's our desired end net result. So the long and the short of it wasn't so much trust, it was the inability to integrate all the moving pieces and parts, and we took it upon ourselves to do that.
So to a certain point, would you say that you did put that trust in your vendors
in an individualized basis, yes. In order to have earned our business, and there are a number of people in the building and in the room, adjacent room that we work with, you have to have achieved certain things that honor then the bigger, more integrated picture. So on an individualized basis, there was enough trust to get to the place where we activated. It was when we had to start dismantling that because of bureaucratic or political factions that say, well, we don't like working with XYZ person. Those are things you guys need to work out. That's not something that should be facing to us.
Now, a lot of people don't know this, but Dave Wilson is also in a very, very similar boat. Dave, tell us about your journey and why iFrog Media actually exists.
Well, about in 2009, we looked at very similar. We looked at the vendors that we were dealing with, and the vendors very similar. A lot of them are here. We deal with a lot of vendors that are here also, but we were very concerned about the vendors actually understanding what's going on in the dealership, because a big key for us and our digital marketing company is what we do is we understand what's going on in a dealership, and we also look at the processes that are going on inside the dealership. So we could never really get that to connect. I'm very lucky. Matter of fact, my son was just up on the stage with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. I'm very lucky and very blessed that he can run our automotive group, and he's grown it a lot since he got out of college in 2008. So the way that I built our automotive group was through marketing, but it was through traditional marketing. And about 2008, 2009, we realized that digital marketing is where it was and where it was going to be. So we jumped into the arena, we looked at it, and then the more we did, as we did traditional, we kept bringing it more in-house. So we did that, we worked on it ourselves in-house, and then with the intentions of going out and serving the dealer market. But I really believe that connection between doing a really good job with your digital marketing and understanding the processes that go on within the dealership, that connection is it's huge. And it's just something we wanted to explore, and we're working on it every day.
All right. Dave, you really heavy, you said about 3 or 4 times the connection, right? And the connection to me, in a way, kind of means showing up, right? Jesse, how important is it to you that your vendors, that they physically show up? And I'm not talking about I'm not talking about the call every month or every 90 days, which turns into 120 days, right? how important is it to you to have that communication and to physically see the person that you're dealing with?
Well, we have a little bit more of a challenge with that with some vendors because we're in the middle of North Dakota. So, some more of the national type ones, you have a hard time with that. But I think you mentioned it in your monologue about, having someone's cell phone number and having them answer the call when you make the call. I think there's a lot of value in that. And, I have a number of vendors where I can do that. And I have some where I can't, but other ones that I do, and I think David hit it on the head. That is the biggest challenge that I have with vendors, especially digital marketing vendors, especially in the social media realm and things like that, is making that connection, having them understand what is happening in the dealership. Not just sales-wise, but culturally and the things that you want to promote on platforms like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and those things. It's really hard to get a vendor to really understand that culture, if you will. And if you can do that, then you've got a really good relationship. I have one now I have a good relationship with, been with them for years, and I'm still teaching them how to make that connection, about that.
Eric, how important is that connection? How important is it that, one of the things I hear a lot is that if I don't call the vendor, I don't hear from him, right? How important is it from sitting in the dealer's chair with all that you have going on a daily basis, how important is it to actually get the call or to get the email or to get the text message from the vendor looking to see what's going on or looking to see where your head is at that particular time?
Less is more. Less charts, graphs, PDFs, please, for all the vendors in the room. Much as I'm sure your technology teams love to build more dashboards, it's the last thing that we need. I really don't need your phone call. Let me clarify that I don't mean that from an arrogant place. If you're going to call and ask me how I'm doing, but you are an integral part of the operation, you should already know. What I'm looking for is consultative advice as to, I'm seeing a trend, an upward trajectory that you should be a part of inside your data. I'm not interested in the guy next door, he's killing it. You're not. First of all, let me touch on something that's we've talked about here. One of the reasons we made the decision to internalize things is because, quite frankly, I'm tired. We as an industry are exhausted with the sales rep that comes scooting across the street having just closed the Honda store. The greatest time to make a sale is after you just made one, and they come flying in unannounced. You guys need to sign up because I just hooked the guy across the street. I'm not interested in what you're doing for the guy across the street, but thank you for now advising what they're up to. Okay? And I'm not looking to participate in said product to hold par. Okay? We develop things ourselves. I'll get back to your original question. We develop things ourselves with a very specific mindset that it needs to be a confidential relationship. We're the investor. You provide the service. We need to collaborate together in order to be great. White papers that allow you to go sell to our competitors are not of value to us. They are of you. I understand that. And exclusivity is something that's very important to us. But understandably, a lot of vendors in particular spaces, they cannot afford to do that. Cannot afford to be the only one that will serve Dave's stores and only his stores because they need the revenue generated by other people in the area. It's a decision he has to make. But for us, again, just because the others are doing it isn't enough for us to make that. So back to your original point. Less is more. Justification graphs and up arrow charts and using terminology like sales lift have no value whatsoever. We live in the most attributable, granular society right now. If you can't tell me splitting atoms down to the VIN of the unit that you were a part of, then the rest of it just, quite frankly, it's waning in value. And we don't need more calls. And let me also touch briefly, sorry guys. We don't need more knock-knock on the glass, stop our teams from what they're doing. sometime back, we interviewed a few of our large metro GMs and said, in a given week, how many hours are you spending in partner or vendor meetings? And it was astronomical. 8 or 9 hours. I mean, like, that's extremely productive time for men and women that are leading between $50 and $100 million enterprise. We just don't need it.
Personally, I work in a little bit of a different role, but you hit on something that I definitely want to touch on, because I've sat in on a lot of these calls. Jesse, when one of those calls is going on and a vendor, and you're on a go-to meeting, if you even get on the go-to meeting, right? And the vendor's putting up all these charts and all these graphs, are you really listening?
You know, it depends on my level of interest in the vendor and what their product is. You know, if it's and I'm interested in most of the. If it's a call related with something like that in there, I'm generally interested. So I would say yes. And if it wasn't something that I wasn't interested in, I just wouldn't be on the call. You know, I wouldn't take the time to be on it.
Dave, exact same question. When those calls are going on and you're looking at the screen, are you actually reading what's on the screen, or are you reading what's on the screen of your phone?
There's no way I'm paying 100% attention to what's going on. I mean, there's just no way. You know, back to your original question, one thing that I really like to say really to vendors is that, you know, a call in to check on how you're doing when you're an integral part of the team, you should already know. And that's key. I mean, you got to be, as a vendor, you got to be an integral part of that team. So you're not calling up and say, hey, what's going on? What can I do better? You're there and you're doing it.
We have a question from the audience, and I want to keep the audience, this is all about for you guys, so I want to keep the audience engaged as possible when we read the question. The slide mentioned, from my monologue, I guess, the slide mentioned that vendors often think that dealers just don't get it. Do you all agree many times that vendors have no idea what's actually happening? Yes.
Well, first of all, I think there are a lot of dealers that just don't get it. I think that's very true. Do I think vendors have no idea? Is that the question?
Yeah.
I would say most of the vendors that I deal with at least know what's going on with regards to their product or service. I would give them that credit. I would say they do. There's certainly a few that don't, of course, but I would say more so do than don't.
Dave, do dealers get it?
I think you got to, just like we do as dealers, you know, we got to decide, you know, that some dealers do, like Jesse said, some dealers do and some dealers don't, and some dealers are in between. And the one thing that I think as vendors is, you know, especially in the digital space, in the traditional space, it was different because dealers did get it and your measurements were different. But in the digital space, you got to understand, you know, you really have to make sure that you're training, and also that you're training the dealer, and also making sure that the dealer understands how what you're doing can get results for the dealer. And, you know, bad terminology because I'm sitting up here on both sides, but sometimes you got to dumb it down, you know, because if you're speaking above the dealer's head, you know, they're hearing all these buzzwords, and they're hearing this, and sometimes it's you know, and as a dealer, I'm going to tell you, I never stopped anybody and asked them, you know, what does that mean? You know, our egos get let us do it. You know, just didn't do it. So, you know, but I do really believe that dealers get it and dealers really want to learn.
Jesse, chime in, please.
You know, sometimes I have a hard time communicating what I want to a vendor. And, you know, like an example might be with a Google AdWords campaign that I want to run. Like, I know what I want, and I know what I want people to be searching for to click on, but I don't know how to communicate that to a vendor. Or I want Facebook ads run a certain way and targeted to a certain demographic. And I just don't think sometimes that it gets to the vendor, like they don't interpret what I'm saying the way I mean it. So sometimes I think where a vendor can help is by having that understanding of kind of what I'm looking for, so I don't have to try to work so hard to communicate with them,
Eric, how important is that communication? Like, how important is it, like I said, from the person in the big chair, right? How important is it to really get your mindset, your goals, and what you want to accomplish through to the vendor and make sure that they get it?
Well, it's absolutely critical. And so trust being the key component to any great relationship. And Dave and I both speak on both sides of the coin. We hold ourselves just as accountable to ZMOT or any of our other holdings. We hold ourselves accountable to them just as much as we require that they hold us accountable. That becomes the ultimate greatest relationship. So when we don't get it, we shouldn't have gotten it in the first place, if that makes sense. If I don't get it, then what I fell victim to was a pain-fueled decision where you're timing your PDF, your coming to my store, $5.99, get me out of trouble widget. I bought it, I have no idea what it is. Okay? I'm not going to return the calls. I'm not going to get on said conference call. I don't even know what this shit is. And luckily, it got bolted into a journal entry and you're getting paid every month. Okay? So the communication is absolutely critical in that the expectation needs to be defined up front. For those of you in the room that were Sandler trained, okay, to take it away is to get people to lean forward. Have the courage to say, this is the objective of the store, this is the functionality of said product. It's not for everyone. We're okay with a no. If I want it bad enough, I'll lean forward. I'm listening. You now have my attention. If it integrates into what we're doing and we establish the rules up front, well, then I should participate in that. And I need a vendor relationship that is built on that type of trust to say up front, I want to give you my time. I want to make that Thursday call at 3 o'clock every week like a top. Truth is, life's going to get in the way. I need you to give me a pass every once in a while, after which I need you to light me up on text and call me out. Is that fair? That's the way that it should be. And equal accountability, of course.
Absolutely. Another question from the audience, and it's amazing. I get a lot of people who just send me questions on Facebook Messenger, and this is, if I had $1 for every time I got this, I wouldn't be up here. I would be like on an island somewhere or something. But I'm going to start with Jesse. What is the best way for a vendor to get in the door? What's the best way to get your attention or talk to the key person at the dealership? This is like the $1 million question for vendors. You know that, right?
I think first and foremost with the vendor, it really in the end is about the product. If you have a product that adds value and it's a good product, chances are you're going to get in front of me at some point. It's probably not going to be because you cold calling me or shooting me emails or whatever else or dropping in on me. But if it's a good product, I'm always researching like a lot of dealers, like I'm sure these two guys are, and a lot of other people in the room. That's why we're here. So at some point, it'll get in front of me. I probably don't deal with vendors the best when they cold call. It's a pretty quick conversation because I just don't, they always find a way to catch me at the very worst time.
I was just about to ask you, how does that call usually go?
It's pretty short. I try to be very, what's the word? Quick, and I try not to be too rude, but it's quick. It's quick. What's the best way? I really think it starts with the product itself. And I know it's probably not going to help, but you got to look at the company you work for and do you offer a good product? Because if you do, you're going to have a chance.
Do you believe that if the vendor has and offers a good product, that you wind up knowing about it before they even call? Like you wind up looking for that?
I kind of, it's somehow magically, I don't know how this happens, but I usually end up getting the calls after I have been sort of noticing and researching and those types of things. So sometimes it kind of fits in perfectly there. Where I'll say, hey, I don't have time to talk about this right now, but I actually actually would like to talk to you, and then we can schedule a call for another time. And that happens fairly often, I would say.
So you'd say that the awareness that the vendor has, that's really the key to you taking the call when the cold call does come in. So if it's just, I hate to say it like this, but if it's just Joe from a mailer company in Boca Raton, you ain't taking that call.
Right.
But at the same time, if it's a company that you've heard about from another dealer or from a 20 group or something like that, and it comes, that's what sparks that. Hey, I want to talk to you, but just not right now.
I put a lot of equity in what the 20 group recommend. David's son and I are in the same 20 group, Ford 20 group, and in a Chrysler 20 group too. And if something's recommended in there, chances are I'm looking at it. Or, a lot of times too with the vendor, if you speak at 20 groups, I've seen a lot of vendors speak at 20 groups that I've ended up doing business with afterwards. That's a really good way to make a connection, rather than a cold call or a drop in or, whatever.
Eric, before the ZMOT days, be honest, did you take the cold call when it came in?
Even now, people circumnavigate the system, and my phone will still have a voicemail that has 900 unanswered voicemails. That happens to be the hey buddy, hey Erich, because they can't pronounce my name right. I love this. Okay. Jesse's comment about the timing is critical. Do your homework. Okay. Calling on a Friday where the month-end close is Monday. If you have a minute, tells me you don't understand the industry. Number one. Calling and having looked over our operation, and you don't even realize we already have what you're selling, tells me that you're dialing for dollars. We're not a volume game. The surefire way to crucify your brand is to do that type of thing with, hey, have you ever considered, you mean what's sitting right on my homepage right now? Oh, I didn't even know that, right? So
your takeaway there, vendors, do your homework.
Do your homework. Let me triple emphasize that. Stop calling, do your homework, and when you actually make a call, don't call and, hey, do you have a minute? I do. Let me send you a join me link. I didn't realize we were going into a presentation right now. I just told you I had it. And I get the close part, because that's what we do, right? Is now a good time? Well, no, it's not. You have a few minutes. Yes, I do. I notice you're carrying X amount of new, X amount of used. I've done my homework. I understand you have X number of other stores. What I'm proposing for you will take 5 minutes to either determine whether we're a fit in or out. That's far more precise and something I'm more likely to get behind. If it's in our wheelhouse, then you just keep going, and I'm waiting for you to take a breath before I go, look, not okay.
Show of hands, how many vendors in the room? Put the hands high, be honest, right? You can't get any better than a game plan on what to do if you want new business than what Eric just said. Right? It'll basically crack the code for you. I think the real question is going to be whether you guys follow it or if you go back to dialing for dollars again. If you go back to dialing for dollars, I can pretty much guarantee you this finger is going to hurt for a very, very long time. And it's not going to be involved in things that go like this, right? And that type of motion.
Frank, I just want to piggyback off that.
Yeah,
the one thing too is, is doing that research and making sure that the dealer does understand you care. And it also is a lot of times what happens, because I was talking to someone that calls on dealerships the other day, and the lady said to me, she said, how's it feel being on the other side? How's it feel to get that no real quick? You know what I mean? Get out of my face. But I think if you do the research, the thing that Eric said that really touched me is, if he gives up 5 minutes, make sure you limit it to 5 minutes. And the only time that you can go over that 5 minutes is if Eric leans forward. Okay? Because like Eric said, when he leans forward, he's interested. Okay? And once he does that, his 5 minutes just expanded, and that's the reason he can't make his 3 o'clock call. Right? So that's, to me, that's very important. And you got to realize that. You got to pick up on that. And once that happens, and once you do the research, and once you're successful doing that, and you really get on a roll, don't speed the process up, okay? Continue to do your research, continue to do it, because I say this all the time to people in sales, you know, this is just the opposite, because you learn it as a dealership, is don't let customer number one beat you up for customer number two. Don't be so good at what you do and decide to skip the research, because then you're going to get back and get the same results you got before.
Can I touch on something just real quick? Is Dave and I being on both sides? You're finding it surprising that you're looking at a particular vendor and then magically they call? That's all I do.
So final question, because we all know that right now we are standing behind, you know, for everybody who's in the audience, we're standing between them and and the open bar and the tickets. So let's get so I want to get right to the punchline and once again bring the most value. And it's going to be for all three, one by one, starting with Jesse. When you get to that point of where where the vendor has gotten themselves in, whether it's by call or by 20 group or by whatever, and you're talking and you've leaned forward, right? You've leaned forward. What is that one thing that makes you, in your own mind, in your own heart, what's the one thing that makes you say, yeah, I'm going with this? Where does that defining moment come, and what generally happens to make that defining moment actually occur?
I'll do it.
It's a hard one.
It's kind of a laundry list.
So what's on? Okay, so for Erich K, what's on your list?
If you use the word setup fee, call's over. If you have not sold a car and you're going to be one that's going to lead our investment, call's over. Shocking as that may be, walk 10 miles, walk 10 years in our shoes, and please, I understand that communications degrees and cars are pretty and shiny, it's wonderful, but you need to understand what we do, what we live with every single day. Moving on. If I need a contractual obligation to you, that's usually a red flag. It's an earn and deserve culture. Okay? You earn it, you deserve it. I want to continue to update and continue to renew with you. You're an integral part of the team. You should be able to accommodate that. Full disclosures of what are included in your monthly rate. Okay? If the DMS, stranglehold, pariah integration fees are in there, then we would like to know specifically what they are. Okay? And the last thing, and I'll turn it over, is that if you're going to say that we don't get it, or that we need to have all these other things as an add-on in order to make it work after the sale, you're only ensuring that it's a short-lived relationship. You need to tell us up front, this is going to be a difficult onboarding. It's worth the investment. We're going to dominate your time for 4 hours, a week from today, and when it's done, we're in, let us go to work.
So what I'm getting from you, from taking that, compressing it down, disclosure, and being as upfront and forthright as possible.
Yeah, don't sugar it up. Tell us. This is a beating to get in. Your team's going to hate it. They're going to come up with 50 reasons why it doesn't work, but we've already gone through said data. The end net result will be magic. Have the courage to punch through it. I'm here to walk and guide you through it. Not, man, this thing's great. Plug it in, turn it on, and it's a mass exodus. Nobody wants to have anything to do with it. It's the quickest relationship ever.
Okay, the same thing. Take the vendor hat off for a second, put the dealer hat on. What is it that, after you lean forward, what is it that gives you that gut feeling that, yeah, this is the right thing for my business?
Well, for one thing, you go through the interview process to start with, right? So you're interviewing vendors, and you've narrowed it down and you decide to go with it. You decide to go with that. And to do that, the vendor has earned your trust. Okay? there's trust and there's follow through, right? So once they've earned your trust, you visualize this vendor on your team. You don't know how important it is, too, that you visualize not just the vendor, not the vendor itself, but the person that they met with, okay? You know. So once you visualize that and you're on, you're on the team, the biggest thing is to carry through on everything that you said. I was telling y'all back there, being on the vendor side, a lot of times it's easy to say yes, 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 we can do that, right? Then you walk out and go, and then if you figure out that you did overpromise, like you said, be brutally honest and run back in that door, and just do it, because it's all about relationship. Everything, everything that we do is about relationship. So, just remember that. But in our case, and one of the reasons that we really jumped into the vendor side of it is a lot of times we saw what we call the honeymoon stage come to an end. Very similar to your slide that you were watching back there. When that honeymoon stage comes to an end and that excitement's not there, and the vendor's off trying to conquer and sign up the next client, we got to always remember that retention is king. The big key is once they've earned that trust. That's for me.
I think for me, it's I'm looking at, is it better than what we're doing now? Is this product better than what we're doing now? Because if this is an advertising expense, I'm not looking to increase my advertising spend. So this is going to replace something. So is what this is replacing, is this going to help us sell more cars and make more money? And that's the thing, that's what it boils down to in the end for me, is that what it's going to achieve? And if it does, then provided pricing is aligned and all those things, and ROI is going to be there, that's what it is for me.
Eric, you had a point that you wanted to make.
Just two quick sort of wrap-ins. If your process, going back to the dialing for dollars, if your process is to have a really slick sales rep, build the relationship, communicate the research that was done by all the smart people, and then that's the relationship that's been built on. And now, let me introduce you to Frank and Jimmy. He's going to take it from here. Let's get there quickly. We don't need more salespeople. The weekly calls should not be upsells. Okay? We would much prefer, speaking on their behalf, we would much prefer to work directly with the actual scientists. My point earlier about if you haven't sold a car, that's from a leadership standpoint. That's from someone who's controlling what are their environment and the communication is with us. We need to understand who we are. Those people need to be able to communicate that amongst the team. And the last thing is, please, for God's sakes, we beg you, stop saying, it's only 3 car deals. If you just, all you got to do is sell 3 cars and we pay for this. I mean, folks, if we did that, we'd $5.99 ourselves, or $5.99 a month ourselves into bankruptcy, taking every shiny widget like that, right? So there has to be something about what you do that is alignment with us as investors, okay? And I guess to wrap it up, greatest sign of your relationship is when we need you to hold us accountable. Greatest vendor partner, right? I think vendor's a terrible word.
It's a horrible
word. It is derogatory for the men and women that have done the work and created something that is a solution as a partner with us, then be that, okay? And part of that is, I would say blow this up. If you don't get from us to you, then take it from you to us and say, do I have your permission to hold you accountable to be successful? And if somebody says no, it's not a good client fit anyway. You won't get it in. And if they say, hell yeah, I need to know, I want you to kick our ass into greatness, well then there's a phenomenal relationship that you can have.
Awesome. Awesome. Vendors in the room, did you get value out of this? Did you get into the, get inside the head of the dealers more than they had before. So I want to thank all three gentlemen for, all three of these guys came, they came to the event, Eric was here, but, everybody came to the event to participate in this because they all wanted to give back. We had somebody else cancel, and Eric stepped up within 2 seconds to say that he wanted to be on the panel for the exact same reason. So I thank all three of you personally. I'm sure everybody thanks you. And I want to bring up just one point. Nobody's touched on it yet because maybe they don't know, but it's very, very important. Everybody knows that digital dealers, that offices are in Florida, and everybody, unless you've lived under a rock for the last month or so, know that Florida got hit by a major hurricane only 2 weeks ago, and a lot of the employees, a lot of the people that work really hard to put this on and put this together, right? They were out of work for a little while, and they were working from laptops at Starbucks and at Dunkin' Donuts and cell phone calls that would blow out at the last second and everything. Very, very frustrating. So I think we all need to really give it up big